볼 너무 예뻐. 근데 이거 되게 맛있어 보인다, 오빠.
내 거는 부각차로 보이네.
맛있겠다, 오빠. 맛있어, 오빠?
나 괜찮아. 괜찮까?
너무 이쁜 거 아니야?
너무 예쁘게. 야, 맞아. 너무
너무 예뻐. 야, 아까워서 어떻게 먹나.
다른 방에도 있나 모르겠네.
마음에 드는 곳. 쪼꼬리.
Do you hear that? My sanity about to break while everyone I know's out. On a trip, on a boat, on a lake. I'm tired of feeling all FOMO, babe. I don't even care if we stay home. Put our to-do list on ice. We crank the AC to 79 and make a little island right here. And there ain't a palm tree in sight, but there's not a cloud in your blue eyes. If we need a drink, I'll be the bartender. I got a fifth of Patron and a blender. Baby, slipping on a swimsuit is overrated. We don't need a beach to get a half naked. Life's too short, let's not waste it. Cause paradise is wherever we make it. Paradise is wherever we make it. Till the sun's up Monday. We'll tell our phones, do not disturb. I got my straw hat, babe. And you can finally pull the tags on your Tommy Bahama shirt. Blue crush up on the 85-inch sound machine. When we wanna hear the ocean, I think everything we need is right here. And there ain't a palm tree in sight, but there's not a cloud in your blue eyes. If we need a drink, I'll be the bartender. I got a fifth of Patron and a blender. Baby, slipping on a swimsuit is overrated. We don't need a beach to get a half naked. Life's too short, let's not waste it. Cause paradise is wherever we make it. Paradise is wherever we make it. Oh, this view of you, it's got everything I need. Yeah, the rooms, they're cheap. And if we don't wanna, we don't ever, ever, ever have to leave. Yeah, there might not be a palm tree in sight, but there's not a cloud in your blue eyes. If we need a drink, I'll be the bartender. I got a fifth of Patron and a blender. Baby, slipping on a swimsuit is overrated. We don't need a beach to get a half naked. Life's too short, let's not waste it. Cause paradise is wherever we make it. All nice. Paradise is wherever we make it. AC to 79. Paradise
수영하시고 싶으시면 수영하세요. 아무도 없어요. 생각해 볼게요. 귀여워라. 아, 그러네. 여기는 그 약간 미니 키친 같은 게 있네. 귀여워.
여보. 해야지.
I do the pottery class.
You are a student? Oxford University?
Yeah, we both are. Yeah.
Ooh.
Excuse me? Yes, come to the first one.
Second one, you will have dry carrot. You will have it with a little bit of pesto made from the health from the garden. As the last one, you will have the fried carrot. The red fish, chili, pepper.
뭘로 싸서
생선을 못 산 거.
Enjoy very quick because the last bite will This quite small, only 40 kilogram. And after this, you will have 인정 비슷한 게
리치.
and then fill up with water are the resting place. So
뒤에 사람 오면 왼쪽 좀 붙이세요.
Maybe they'll come fix it here too.
곰돌이. 제가 만든 스프링롤. 제가 만들었습니다.
근데 돌돔 같은 것도 있다? 이렇게 한 요 정도 짧은 건데.
또 잡으면은
먼저.
준대요. 채 썰어 준대요.
몰라. 잡히겠냐? 10m야 10m.
머리?
어. 그러니까 이거 뭐. 생일이라고 얘기했지.
네.
코딱지만 하고.
누나
아.
누나 안 보인다. 누나 안
맞을
보여.
거다.
밥은 안 먹잖아.
네, 됐어. 가방이 있어.
여기 수영장 뭐야? 안 보이지?
망고 망고. 수박. 같이. 몰라.
여기 그죠?
Oh, right. That's not yours. Okay. We're on season very good. I try to find in 2 wing for you. So they don't have the. I know. No more legs. Yeah, sorry.
Which one do you want? For me, one mango is good.
Yeah, mango.
One mango,
Oh, watermelon is on season also.
watermelon.
Watermelon.
Yes, we do.
Okay. Thank you. 갈아서 주는 주스가 주죠.
이게 이렇게 해서
응.
이렇게.
와우.
커피는 밑에 있어?
응.
와우.
커피는 밑에 있겠지.
되게 신기한데요? 그치?
어, 그러니까 네.
Thank